We did the Centennial a couple years ago for that one. It's crazy. And they use
Have a bicentennial.
yeah, no, that's true. It's kind of cool. Nope, yes, we are.
Existing items.
I'd like to call the Ferrisburg City Council meeting to order tonight, Monday, October 15, 2018. Roll call, please.
Mayor Hop,
Here.
Councilmember Kennedy, Councilmember DeWitt, Councilmember Twa,
Present.
Councilmember O'Donnell,
Here.
Councilmember Carlson,
Here.
Councilmember Blees.
Here.
Your Honor, I'd like to excuse Kennedy and DeWitt.
Support.
Okay, motion support. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor stating aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passed. Moving down on the agenda item, invocation will be given by myself and followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Let us pray. As we gather here tonight, we pray that we are mindful of opportunities to render our services to fellow residents and to our community, keeping in mind always enduring values of life, exerting our efforts in those areas and on those things upon which future generations can build with confidence. Let us continue to strive to make a better world. Please continue to protect all our men and women in uniform and keep them safe from harm. We pray this in your holy name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under At this time is time for public comments. Any citizen is allowed to direct brief comments or questions to City Council. Time for public comments will be given when an agenda item is discussed. If you have a comment or question, please raise your hand to be recognized by the mayor. After being recognized by the mayor, please stand, give your name and address for the record. Proceed with your comments or questions. You're limited to 3 minutes. Public comments, yes. If you could stand up by the mic, that would be best. Would you hand her the mic? Okay, we'll just hand the mic. That's okay. Thank you, Craig.
Good evening. I'm Karen O'Donnell, Tim's wife, other half, and I'm from 540 Ferry Street. And the reason why I'm here tonight is the resolution you guys are going to be talking about later on. I'm just going to talk about my comment earlier right now. I support this resolution, and I want to give some examples as to why I support this resolution. I did work as a community corrections officer, and I also worked as a medic in the field for 15 years. So I have a little bit of experience. I worked with family court as a CASA. And I'm not good at speech, so I apologize. When parents are looking for a place to raise their children, they check the township site and they see a beautiful child in a tree. That's Ferrisburg. If you look out the window here, you will see that's Ferrisburg, family and children. In just 3 miles. We have several homes with children. We have several parks where families from Ferrisburg and outside Ferrisburg who visit on a constant basis, on a regular basis. So we have hundreds of children that come in this area. We also have a lot of schools with children that are here daily during the school days. We are responsible for all those children and their families. Ferrisburg and Michigan families have the right to expect the cities that they are raising their children in to do all they can to protect their children. One of the ways to make an important decision is how to protect those children and family is to look at the consequences of legalizing recreational marijuana by reviewing all the information from the states that have already legalized marijuana. Secondary to the increasing strength, the Michigan industry is targeting the youth as young as 10 years old now in Colorado and Washington. Secondary to the increasing strength of marijuana, which is now potency is 36 times stronger than when we were kids. The drug suppliers are adding substances such as fentanyl to marijuana. This increases the youth to become addicted to it and wanting to use stronger drugs. Marijuana is a gateway drug that produces and needs a bigger high, like spice or bath sauce. The more that marijuana is available, the more children will try drugs per psychologist. When our children use marijuana, especially on a daily basis, and the stats on that are staggering and going higher and higher, it interferes with the developing brain, resulting in impaired learning, memory, and attention span, and lack of interest in school, sports, all of which is needed for a successful life for our children to grow. More and more parents and children are being injured or killed from car accidents and being seen in emergency rooms from overdoses, other injuries relating from being high, and suicides. More young adults are seeking help from addiction treatment centers. Increase in disorderly conduct, public drunkenness, and drug violations. Homelessness has and will increase. Per the federal government, there are over 4.5 million homeless in this country today. Increased theft and robbery is used to seek money for support habits. It just takes one incident to shatter the hearts of our Ferrisburg family. Muskegon mom and unborn child died from a 19-year-old running a stop sign while he was high. In Ionia County, a few years back, sheriff deputy dies while riding home after work on a motorcycle when a 16-year-old ran a stop sign while he was high. He left a wife and 2 children. Families deserve free, drug-free babysitters. A mom puts marijuana oil in a baby bottle to make her child sleep. Increased risk of children injuries from eating marijuana candy, smoke inhalation, trauma, burns. A recent incident we've heard of from Grammar School, high school. 2 young students took marijuana brownies, knowing that there was marijuana in the brownies. They go to school. The EMS is called because as soon as they got to the school, they started becoming disoriented and very sick, laying on the floor and flailing all over because they didn't know what was happening to them, even though they knew what they were eating. Too many of these cases involve, last year, per the FBI, 460,000 children were reported missing, from running away to kidnapping. Too many of these cases involve marijuana one way or another. Many of these children are being used for sex trafficking. Now there's pot candy, gummy bears, and soda that will make it easier to lure these small victims, rendering them disoriented so that they don't fight or cry.
So, O'Donnell, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you've exceeded the 3 minutes at this time. Thank you. I appreciate your insight. Is there other further public comments? Mr. Larson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You'll address items that are on the agenda.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay. Any other public comments at this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll move down to item 6. Consideration for approval of consent agenda. A, approve the October 1, 2018 City Council meeting minutes as printed. B, approve a recommendation by the Beautification Commission to accept a proposal from the Grand Haven Garden House for $1,725 to install lighted garland on 25 of the city's streetlight poles and to install red ribbon on 25 of the city's streetlight poles for $375.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second.
Okay, motion support. Any further discussion?
I have a question, and that is the, are any of the light poles on this side of the tracks?
Are they down on 174th or just the ones on Pine?
It's on Pine Street.
Just on Pine.
Pine Street, West Minnetonka.
There was no banners this year, I don't think, on 174th,
No, there
nor
weren't.
there were any flower pots on 174th.
No flower pots. The only ones we had flower pots were on north of the bridge. Those are the only street poles that have irrigation in them.
So is anything ever gonna happen beautification-wise on 174th for people on this side of the tracks?
The city council wishes to put streetlights and red garland on the 11 street poles on West 74th Avenue. We can add that to this project.
The reason I'm asking is I live on this side, and I've had neighbors ask me about it, and it's like, geez, why do they get flowers? Why do they get the banners and flower pots? And we get broken up poles.
Had banners up there, and for some reason they just didn't get up this year.
Is it something that beautification, are you looking for beautification committee to consider?
I'm looking for beautification on this side of the tracks.
Okay. Is this something you can take back to the commission next month? Okay.
Would you like to add that to this project?
Do you want to remove 6B?
So it would be $360 plus about $510 more to the project to do 174th Avenue.
This item removed and the
Like I said, we can
additions
just
edited?
add the $510 to it. If we want to do 174th, is that what you're saying? Do we have to remove the whole item B or no? Can we just
There's a
add?
motion on the table now.
Right,
If you want to change them, what's on the agenda, then we should withdraw the motion and remake it.
okay, I'll withdraw my, my motion. And I'll make a adjusted motion to approve consent agenda with adding streetlight poles, red ribbons to 174th Avenue in X amount of dollars. 510, you said, correct? Do we need a dollar amount? Okay. Nope.
Stating aye?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passed. Move down to 7, new business. Presentation by Mr. John Simeon from Grand Haven Area Public Schools, Board President, regarding the enhanced millage proposal.
Thank you. Just a word of mention that I am also Secretary of the Ottawa Area ISD Board of Education in here, so I'm covering both sides of this tonight. On the, excuse me, the November 6th ballot, there's going to be an enhancement millage in here, so I want to run through that for you so that if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them for you. I know you've had it in your packet in there, but you may have more questions after I go through these slides here. But we serve roughly in the ISD 49,253 students in here, and which 17,000 plus are economically disadvantaged. Almost 2,800 use English as a second language, and then we have 5,400 plus with various disabilities that we serve. We're above state average in graduation rates. 73% of our students or graduates enroll in 2 or 4 year colleges. within 24 months of graduation. 2,600 students are enrolled in career training programs throughout the region, and then 860 kids are in GSRP programming. Do you know what the GSRP programming is? The Great Start Readiness Program. That is for 4th grade underprivileged children. Okay, now, the schools have been investing wisely, and here with our kindergarten readiness, 3rd grade reading proficiency, 8th grade math proficiency, and so on. Now, our foundation grant, we took one heck of a hit back in the 11-12 school year, $470 per student, and it took us a long time to recover from that. We've had to make cuts, try and balance our budget, and so on, but we've been able to remain solvent and keep our programs intact. We've saved millions and consolidated throughout the ISD, consolidation in shared services and shared positions, outsourcing facilities and bus maintenance, food services. Now in Grand Haven, we have not outsourced anything. Now we have had shared services where our facilities director was shared with Spring Lake, and also our bus mechanic was shared with Spring Lake, so we were both able to save money that way. The Research Collaborative came up with a estimate of $95.90 that each student should be reimbursed for in here, and right now the countywide average is $78.71 in here, so we're at a deficit roughly of $1,700. So schools need that $1,700 more per pupil in here, and the inadequate state funding, declining enrollment, and more students with special needs. What we do know, we have high quality schools that are key to attracting families and businesses to West Michigan. I know when I was still working before I retired, that first thing that a new employee would ask for, what are the schools like? And vice versa. Strengthening our schools provides a stronger workforce for businesses in our communities, and community businesses and education have a shared future. Our students need more. Preserve and expand high quality programs and services, preserve and expand efforts to ensure student safety and greater connections to college and world of work, making education more relevant. Now, the proposal is one way to increase a school operating millage is through an enhancement millage. An enhancement millage helps all districts within the ISD. That's all 11 districts and 7 public school academies, which includes the 2 across the street. The voters approve the funding is distributed 100% to all districts on per student basis. We will be asking voters to approve a 0.9 mil increase for 10 years in here, which would give us $226 per student, or $11 million annually. Now in Grand Haven, that will amount to about $1.4 million. Now, as you see per the map there, those are the districts that already, or the counties that already have the enhancement millages in here, and they've been working very well for them. If approved, the cost for a homeowner for a $100,000 home to be $3.75 a month, or $45 a year, or double that for a $200,000 home. By law, funds will be distributed on a per pupil basis. The ISD receives less than 1% of the students, or the students that they have attending the general eligible programs. Accountability reporting will be independent audit available online. Now, the ISD normally doesn't have any students of its own, but it does have a few in special programs, so that's why that comment there. Now, we did have a survey run before we looked at going for this millage. 90% of the people surveyed said that they need to connect students to work. 84% says maintain the existing programs and services. 82% increase mental health services, which I feel is a huge item. and then 82% is early college, giving students a head start. Quality schools equals quality communities. Does the council have any questions on this? Yes, the ISD received information from the 11 school boards in the ISD. 9 out of the 11 requested that we have the enhancement millage. The other 2 districts didn't go either way on it. So because they represented more than 50% plus 1, and heard that we authorized going for enhancement, excuse me, enhancement millage.
Have to pass by school district, or is it a county-wide?
No, it's the whole ISD wide in here. So yeah, it's not just Grand Haven or Spring Lake or Coopersville. It's the whole ISD that has to pass. Sure.
Just invited Mr. Simeon in because after the presentation we saw a couple weeks ago, I just thought it'd be very advantageous for us as council, but also for
And I do urge everybody to get out and vote. It's a very important vote coming up this November, and here not only for this, but for various other things. So please vote. Yes, there's flyers over here for the audience if you want some. There's 2 different flyers. So okay, thank you.
7B, discussion and take action if appropriate to adopt a resolution authorizing distribution of the draft 2018 master plan update to neighboring communities and relevant agencies. Everybody have an opportunity to review the draft plan that was in your packet? Okay. So we need a,
I'll make a motion to approve to adopt the resolution authorizing distribution of the draft 2018 master plan update to neighboring communities and relevant agencies.
Support.
motion support. Further discussion? I had one that I'd like to address out. If you turn to page 16, underneath the parks, semi-parks, and parks, recreation, preserves. There is a statement in here that states with Sunnyside Park being a new park. And so in speaking with staff earlier, it would be Sunnyside Park became a park in 2009. So that wouldn't be classified as a new, as in the second paragraph. So in according, Craig, we're able to, adjustments can be made without sending this back to the Planning Commission at this point?
That's correct. Be
Okay.
contingent on that change being made.
On that change, okay. Any other?
I know Planning Commission had discussed it. Is the nature preserve zone going to be zoned a park now or something else?
Planning Commission is going to start the discussion on changing the zoning, whether to change the zoning for parks to 2 parks. That discussion is going to take place at the next meeting.
Okay. Is there any major changes that we should be aware of since the last master plan?
Pretty much just an update. Demographics have been updated. The section about the sand mining property, the sub area has been taken out, and acknowledging that Ottawa County Parks now owns the property and will be developed in the future. Yes, Planning Commission has been working on it since early last year, so they spent a considerable amount of time on it, and we're ready for it to move on to adjacent communities for their review.
Nope. All those in favor stating aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passed. Moving down to 7C, discussion and take action if appropriate to adopt a resolution placing Dogwood Drive on the 2021-2023 Transportation Improvement Plan, which is actually the TIP plan. So that information was in here too, with an overview of how the funding has been added throughout the county, so.
So again, this money is designated, it has to be a federal major street in the city to be eligible to get this funding. Staff is suggesting Dogwood Drive gets repaved. We'll probably put in the tip for 2022. That'd be the earliest we could probably get it in there. This is no guarantee that the city is going to get this project funded or when it's going to get funded, but this is what we plan to submit for putting in the tip for the next 3 years.
I'm sorry, Craig, what was the definition for the road had to fall under?
It has to be a major street in the city.
And what is the criteria for that?
It's usually a connector street to an adjacent community, or it's a heavy commercial street within the city. Carmen Drive is a major, West Spring Lake Road, 168th Avenue, Dogwood, West Spring Lake Road, North Shore Road.
Anything to do with car count or vehicle count?
No.
Your Honor, I'm going to make a resolution to adopt the resolution placing Dogwood Drive in the 2021-2023 Transportation Improvement Plan.
Support.
Motion support. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor stating aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passed. Craig, in regards to this, can you keep us involved as this unfolds, if you hear information? Okay. Thank you. Moving down to 7D, discussion and take action if appropriate to install an identification sign at the entrance of Coast Guard Park. There's a photo of that was in your packet that came through the Rec Commission. So before further discussion, we need a motion support.
I'll make a motion to accept the signage that says Coast Guard Park, North Ottawa Dunes Trailhead. And Craig, is the amount 3,200? Do you think that'll be close to the same? We don't have the amount on here, but
We haven't got a
Okay.
cost estimate on it yet, but it would be somewhere in that ballpark. We're thinking probably $3,500,
okay,
which will be a 50-50 split with Ottawa County Parks.
okay.
Support.
I have, Your Honor.
Yes.
I've been working with one of our local Boy Scouts on doing signage at the park and doing some mapping of the park as well. And he had some ideas on some signs, designs. One was possibly contacting the gentleman that made the Kitchen Lindquist sign.
Have throughout the city, the white with the blue, our directional signs and that.
The design is.
The design is.
Won't the Ottawa County Parks have a say if they're splitting the costs on what it's supposed to look like?
They've looked at this and okayed it.
Okay, so we'd have to go,
Actually, they designed this picture here.
okay, so we'd have to go through a redesign process?
If you want to, if there's going to be a different sign proposed, then we have to get review with Ottawa County Parks as well. If there's something else that you'd like to look at, it should be referred back to the Recreation Commission for further review.
But being different, that's, you say, well, that's Ferrisburg Park, so I would have no problem either way.
KLH Dunes, we're looking at redoing signs at some point in time, aren't we, Craig?
That's correct. We're looking to put a sign in the island near the parking area to identify the dune preserve a little better.
Because this sign that's being proposed in the photo meets the consistency with what we've got in other spots in the city.
Other parks and our wayfinding signage.
Potentially, we could do something different, because we're looking at doing something very different at the KLH Dunes. And that's something where we might be really interested in some input and some help from scouts or somebody like that potentially, right?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Bet.
Those in favor stating aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed, motion passed. Moving down to our next agenda item, 7E. Discussion take action if appropriate to adopt a resolution opposing the legalization of marijuana for general use.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution opposing legalization of marijuana for general use.
Okay, there's a motion.
Support.
Motion support. Any further discussion? Yes.
Are you accepting comment from?
Yes, I am.
All right, awesome.
Please state your name and address for the record, sir.
Sure, absolutely. Good evening. My name is Chris Larson, 17673 Jordan Lane, here in beautiful, the city of Ferrisburg, not township. And before I begin, I'd like to just point of information for Mr. Carlson is with regards to the light poles and flowers, and it's nothing against this side. It's just when the ones were placed on West Spring Lake Road, the reason why those have flower baskets is because those were ordered with automatic watering systems and such, so it's not that there's anything against that. But yes, I agree with you, to make it consistent. So that's the only reason why that has flowers. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I'm here tonight to encourage city council members. It's possible to kill that light that's right in my eyes. Let's move it back here. Tonight to encourage city council not to adopt a resolution opposing the legalization of marijuana. Marijuana prohibition is a failed policy that has gone on way too long. And unfortunately, the same old inconsistencies and fabrications continue to be perpetuated, such as gateway drugs and this and that. Unfortunately, that just doesn't really hold up. And the reason being is if they say, you're going to smoke marijuana, you're going to now become a heroin addict. How do you base that methodology on something? Well, because you smoked weed, now you're a heroin addict. Well, eat a hamburger, that's gateway to that. So I don't buy it. Now, when people are talking about increased potencies, absolutely. I know that there's been discussion at other councils where they've shown, gummies and all sorts of stuff. But I'd like to draw your attention to what else is increased in potencies. Take a look at beers nowadays. And by the way, there's a picture of baby on this one here. This beer is, let's see here. Oh, my glass is handy dandy. This one I think is 9.5% alcohol. We go back about 20 years ago, how many beers had that much alcohol in it? Not many. With regards to marketing towards children, I think the people at Camel Cigarette Company, after they got busted for marketing nicotine in cigarettes, a drug that the C. Everett Koop, the former Surgeon General, stated is more addictive than heroin, after those people left Camel Cigarettes. Maybe they went to the alcohol industry to make cans and bottles more attractive to kids. So I'm not buying that. Now, the health issues, absolutely. There's health issues around all drugs, both legal and illegal. Alcohol, tobacco, nicotine, I said that. But those items, we're going to have that around anything. So with keeping marijuana illegal or going against it, that's just really not going to stop people from using it. And I don't foresee that, it's going to stop people using it. I mean, to bring up health examples, how many children are born with fetal alcohol syndrome, or how many people this year died from alcohol-related crashes in vehicles? I'm going to guess way more than with people in cannabis. So, talking about money and lives changed, if we think back here in our community, what's happened a few years ago, think about the Ottawa County Sheriff that shot a GVSU student over a drug buy that went bad. It was over about 1/8 of marijuana, or about 3 cigarettes worth. I mean, the changes that's happened in those people's lives, both the student, the officer, terrible. But also on the financial side, how much did that investigation cost us? I mean, it's really time to put things to an end on the prohibition. So why you shouldn't support the resolution for this is pretty simple, is I think many responsible adults in the community here in Ferrysburg, they've seen past the rhetoric and the war on drugs and how it's a failed policy, hence why it's on our ballot this November. So I encourage you to let citizens make their own decisions and not take a position on it. And I thank you for your time.
Your Honor, I have a question. You state there's more alcohol deaths than marijuana deaths, but in the states that have legalized marijuana, they have statistics where that has risen, and that's one thing that we want to eliminate. Are you saying that's a myth, that it doesn't, that there isn't a rise?
No, let's be clear here. I'm sure there's accidents, but there is no way alcohol-related traffic accidents or alcohol-related deaths are being surpassed by cannabis use.
Not yet.
It's something that,
I mean, your point is valid, but as soon as it becomes more available and legal, so your point doesn't hold water. It's gonna increase.
Oh, absolutely. But let's be clear here. As I'm saying is, it's not going to pass alcohol-related accidents, both motor vehicle and whatever.
I don't think you can say that in all certainty. I don't think you can say that at all. You don't know what the future is going to bring.
Well,
particularly since the potency of the marijuana now, as you already stated, is clearly much more potent than it was back in the 70s. These kids don't know how to handle that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but we're not talking about kids here.
Oh, come on, really?
Oh, well, yeah, really. We're talking about the ballot here of what is for, on the ballot for adults. Now let's talk about, pardon me, now I gotta get water here. We're gonna talk about drugs and deaths. Take a look, if you will, at this heroin epidemic caused by prescription painkillers.
Yeah, I don't think that's the topic, though.
Well, but it is. It's relevant because what you're trying to refer to is the sky's going to fall, the world's going to end, that, if we pass legal marijuana for adults, that all this terrible stuff's going to happen. Terrible stuff is still going to happen regardless, but it's not going to explode through the roof. You still have it. And we should end the policy that is ruining responsible adults' lives through a failed policy.
how would you,
We'll let, he's spoken, so we'll move on to the next,
okay,
we have other people in the audience too.
All right.
To speak. And we can open up to discussion.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Larson. Else on public comments regarding this? No? Okay. So there's a motion on the table and support. So additional conversation with council? Thoughts?
I just have a comment. This is really a touchy subject, and you know it's been like that for quite a while now. And when they passed the marijuana legalization for medicinal purposes, for medical conditions, that was one thing, but recreational marijuana is another thing. But I can see both sides of it, and it's the prohibition. It's I can see why they're trying to do it. They're trying to cut out the drug dealers and a lot of the misuse. But yeah, I'm not quite sure what the whole solution would be. But just a comment.
Something resembling what is before us tonight. So, you were going to speak.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing is, if the voters vote yes on that legalization, what will this do if we pass this? Will our resolution supersede that? If we pass a resolution here?
Resolution doesn't.
This
do
is just a
anything.
resolution of what we're supporting.
That's all.
Okay.
I think it is the responsibility of the city council to have the best interests of the people and the safety and the well-being, and not only that, but the fiscal well-being of the people of the city when we make considerations. And it has been proven that this is a very costly measure. The city will not get, no matter what we do, will not get any revenue from it. It will end up costing us money. I don't know where we're going to get the money to handle the extra costs involved. And you're right, there's a lot of other problems. There's drugs, there's heroin. We don't need to add to that mix. We don't need anything else going out there that's is going to create more harm to our community and to the people. You know me. I'm the safety person. I'm gonna do what I feel is best for the safety of and well-being of our residents. The other thing is, most people don't have stills in their homes. You legalize recreational marijuana, we're going to have problems with increased public safety issues. One of the ways to extract oils is using butane. I don't mind running into burning buildings, but if I'm going into a building with butane in there, a lot of electrical wires, that's just explosions and stuff. Tell you what, I'm not for this at all. I want to keep as far away from that as possible. Let our law enforcement do their job.
There has been a lot of incidents with the butane.
Yes,
explosions.
and a lot of what has been mentioned is not just fluff. There's actual facts to back all this information up.
Those in favor stating
Aye.
aye. Those opposed? Motion passed. Moving down to 7E, and I'm at 7F, our work session, Piney Point Special Assessment District. Piney Point came to us 2015, proposing the special assessment for improvement. So there's a history that was written up in our packet that you have from 2015 when it was first asked, up to 2016, and now into 2019, or towards 2019. Craig, in our packet we had supporting information from the engineer.
Right. So with the North Shore Drive project, we asked the city engineer to consider giving us cost estimates and design improvements for the Piney Point, the public and the private section. Though that work has been done, he has indicated that to repave Piney Point, bring it up to 3 inches of pavement, will cost around $95,000. We'd like to do that project as part of the North Shore Drive project while the contractor's in town. It's going to save some mobilization cost. We'll be able to get the bulk rate on materials. The contractor's going to be in the area. It's just a good time for us to repave Piney Point, the public and private section, along with this North Shore Drive project. So this is on the city council agenda to find out is there support on moving forward with the special assessment district. If so, staff would do some work. We'll prepare some public hearings, notify the residents that of the special assessment district and move forward in creating that special district and finding out exactly what each property owner would have to pay back to the city over time. That's correct. That's correct.
Greg, I have a question. In the special assessment district, it includes all property owners along that street, even if they haven't signed the petition or whatever it is, the petition here.
That's correct. It'd be all property owners that would benefit from the improvements. There's one parcel that's in the middle, that's the tennis courts. That parcel would not be special assessed. There's one towards the south end that would not be special assessed. They take access off of North Shore Drive. Everybody would be signed as a special assess, even if they didn't sign the petition. And then the public hearing would come and people would have a chance to voice their concerns or support for the project. And the city council would consider moving this process forward or stopping it at that time.
And financially, the city is able to absorb this $110,000.
The city can afford it to do it as part of this project, and it'll be paid back. The suggested rate would be over a 10-year period with 3% interest.
It's one that came through in the list.
So do we still need to go through the public hearing and comment?
We never went through the public hearing process with this Piney Point Special Assessment District. It was started to be created, and then when we got the funding for the other projects, we looked back at this project and the funds were not there to do all of the projects, so this got put on hold. We told the residents that time we'd look at it again when we did the North Shore Drive project.
Money out of the city's pocket.
It's money out of the city pockets that gets repaid by the property owners over a period of time.
So the end game after 10 years is we're made whole again.
Make whole again, yes.
Okay.
Where you lose the carrying cost of the money for that 10 years.
Needs to be done.
Start doing that, thank you.
Reports, manager report. Okay, moving down, Councilmember Bliss.
The Recreation Committee's next meeting will be Thursday, November 1st, 5:30 p.m.
Okay.
We had the open house for the fire department last week, or last Monday. Had a great turnout, great weather. I think everybody had fun. And looking forward to doing it again next year.
Report.
Councilmember Carlson.
I did attend the fire department open house last Monday. I got the personal tour of the fire hall from Councilman O'Donnell, which was fantastic. And it was greatly attended. It was a beautiful night, and it was great to see all the kids having fun. And we had a lot of local businesses there lending support, which is fantastic. Kitchell Lindquist Dune Preserve. This is the meeting is canceled for tomorrow night, which, Craig, is that the second or third meeting in a row that's been canceled for lack of
Be
quorum?
the third meeting for lack of quorum.
Third meeting in a row we've been canceled for lack of quorum. And this is at the end of the term when our summer intern has been working. And it's just, for me personally, I just find it painful that here when we've got somebody that's been working diligently to help better the Dunes Preserve, doing invasive species research and eradication, that we can't even get a quorum together to meet, to review performance and provide direction and that type of thing. And I know it's been happening on the sides. The Chairman Brian is here. He might want to speak up to that a little bit more. But council has talked a little bit about what to do with the amount of people that are serving on different boards and commissions to be able to get quorum. And that's one of the things that the KLH Dune Board is now looking at is, geez, do we need to lower the number of people? Because we can't seem to get a quorum together. Even though we have a core group, we can't get a quorum. So that's a little concerning. Intern's been doing well, invasive species research and cleanup. And then also the other intern is just finished, our other intern that was our first intern has just finished up his master's thesis studying the amphibians that are on the Dunes Preserve. So we're looking forward to some good reports. And of course, we're still looking at erosion control because our dunes are moving probably faster than what we were anticipating towards our building. That's it.
I too attended the Fire Barn open house. Thank you to Councilmember Carlson. He left his spot open for me. So he left. I pulled in. That's nice. Councilmember Twa, Councilmember Blues, myself, and Mr. Bussinger all attended a sneak peek on Ottawa Sand Park a couple weeks ago. It was awesome to go back in there to walk around. I greeted Ottawa County staff this morning when the park opened at 7. It's going to be a fun, neat attraction for this community. So really looking forward to seeing that unfold. Also, we welcomed in West Shore Veterinary Clinic into Ferrysburg. It's a new business that's over in the plaza by Leppinks. And that is it. So thanks, everyone.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Forward.
Oh.
Fred.
Nice report, thanks. Very fresh to
No,
see.
but it's a good reminder.
I can share that. It's not only work others, but
Yeah.
What's the scoop? Scoop break.
Thanks for Saturday night. Did you see Scott? Did you see Bruce?
Yeah.
Thank you. But what happened to Jeez.